All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched NBA facts. Got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. I forgot to say a special thanks to Ayel Sabag, who came through with another super thanks. Man, I really appreciate it very much. Thanks for that. It's very generous of you, very kind of you. So, in this video here today, I hear a lot of the same nonsense in the comments and all that kind of stuff about, competition. Jordan had the best team, in the 90s. It was easy for him to win and all this. It's just pretty laughable to me. I mean, people don't even realize what happened back then. It's obvious that they weren't around back then or they wouldn't be saying this stuff. They know that a lot of these series were tough. You can't just look at the box scores, look at the result, and think you know what happened. You can go back and watch the games, though. That's a good start, and you can see that a lot of these series were not as easy as what everybody thinks it was. But I'm going to run through my top 25 here, and what I'm going to look at specifically is in the series that the player won, how many of them went 4 or 5 games, which is an easy short series, or 6 or 7 games, which, is a longer, tougher series. And we'll just see what's what. Okay, Nikola Jokic, he played 14 series. He won 9, lost 5. He didn't play any 5-game series at all. I kind of left those to the side because you can't compare to other players who only played 7-game series. And those players have a huge advantage because they got to pick up these cheap, easy wins in the first round, specifically, getting that extra 4th win. But anyway, it is what it is. Nikola Jokic was 9-5 in his 14 series. Now, in his 9 series wins, 4 of them were either won in 4 or 5 games. 5 of them were won in 6 or 7 games. So slightly more tough series in his wins than, slightly more tough series than easy series in his series wins. Giannis had a bunch of easy wins. In his 15 series, he went 8-7, right? Or I'm sorry, he actually went, he went 8-7. So he had 5 of them went either 4 or 5 games. 3 of them went 6 or 7. So I would say based on that, he had easier. In fact, only 30% of his, or 43% of his series went 4 or 5 games. That's less than half. That's kind of the magic number here is 50%. Elgin Baylor, in his 25 series, he went 14-11. But in 7-game series, he went 12-9. Only 4 of them he won in 4 or 5 games, but 8 of them he won in 6 or 7. So he obviously the indicator is he had some good competition. If he's got twice as many series he won in 6 or 7 versus only 4 or 5 wins. So he's got a 67%. Of his series, he won in 6 or 7. David Robinson, in his 7-game series, he went 10-8. Okay, and of his he had 4 were won in 4 or 5 games, and 6 were won in 6 or 7 games. So again, he had slightly more tough series than easy series. Bob Pettit, in his he had 10 7-game series. Only 1 was in 4 or 5. 3 of them were in 6 or 7. So that's a 75%. So that's good. It means he had some tough competition even in the series that he won. Kevin Durant, 22-11. All his series were 7 games. 13 of them he won in 4 or 5 games. 9 he won in 6 or 7. So that's a 41%, meaning he had an easier time of it most of the time. You know, a lot of that had to do with the Golden State super team and some of the early rounds earlier in his career, I'm sure. Kevin Garnett's interesting. He went 13-7 in 7-game series. Only 3 of them he won in 4 or 5 games. 10 he won in 6 or 7. So 10 out of his 13 series wins were won in 6 or 7 games. That's 77% of the time. So obviously it's a combination of you have tough competition and you don't have a stacked, unbeatable team. Karl Malone, 10-10 in his career in 7-game series. 5 of them he won in 4 or 5 games. 5 of them he won in 6 or 7 games. So that's 50%. That's about average, right in line with average. George Mikan only ever played 5 7-game series. He won all 5 of them. 1 of them was in 5 games, but 4 were in 6 or 7. So he's got an 80% of his series wins he won in 6 or 7 games. Oscar Robertson, 6-5 in 7-game series. All 6 he won in 4 or 5 games. And that was, I think, entirely when he was on Milwaukee. So he has a 0% of his series he won in 6 or 7 games. 0 out of 6. So, like I said, he had an easy time of it. I mean, I think, one of them right off the top of my head, they won the finals in 71 against Baltimore, a 42-40 team. They swept them. Steph Curry, not surprised at this one at all. 23-5 in his career. Of his 23 series, 13 of them he won in 4 or 5 games, and 10 he won in 6 or 7 for a 43.5%. That's low, meaning that he had an easier time of it. You know, the combination of stacked team versus competition, not testing you, not as strong. Moses Malone, 7-5 in 7-game series. 5 of them were in 4 or 5, and only 2 were in 6 or 7. That's only a 28.6% clip. So when he had a good team, they made short work of people because they were so much better than everybody else. That's my conclusion. Dr. J, 18-12 in 7-game series. I included the ABA. 11 of them he won in 4 or 5. 7 he won in 6 or 7. So out of his 18 series, only 7, which equals 38.9%, which is kind of low. Jerry West, 15-10 in 7-game series. 7 of them he won in 4 or 5. 8 of them in 6 or 7. 53.3%. So again, he's over average. So he had slightly tougher series than he had easy ones. LeBron James, 41-13 record overall. And this kills me right here. I'll break it down in individual. Of his 41 series, he got 12 sweeps. He won in 4 games. 12 of them he won in 5 games. 11 of them he won in 6 games, and only 6 in 7 games. So he's only got a percentage of 41.4% of his series he won in 6 or 7 games. And people got the nerve to talk about, mostly LeBron fans, of course. The only people that hate on Michael Jordan is LeBron fans. That's it. But 41.4, pretty low. It's under 50. How about Shaq? He went 24-12 in 7-game series. 13 of them he won in 4 or 5 games. 11 in 6 or 7. That's also under 50. That's 45.8% of the time he won in 6 or 7 games. Tim Duncan, 31-13 in 7-game series. He won 18 of them in 4 or 5 games. He won 10 of them in 6 games and just 3 in 7 games. But for purposes of this video, he won 13 of his 31 series wins in 6 or 7 games for a 41.9% clip. Also low. Hakeem Olajuwon, he went 9-5 in 7-game series. 3 of them went 4 or 5. 6 of them went 6 or 7. That's a 67% clip. Again, that's a high number. So that means Olajuwon, who never really had a great supporting cast practically his whole career until at the very end when he was old, and he got supporting cast of stars that were also old. But 6 of his 9 series, 7-game series that he won was either 6 or 7 games for 67%. Wilt Chamberlain, he went 14 and 10 in 7-game series. 6 of them went 4 or 5 games. 8 of them went 6 or 7 because of mostly playing Boston a lot. And, playing the Knicks later on, whatever. That's a 57.1%. That's a margin you're looking for, over 50%. At or above 50 means that, at least half the time when you won, you were tested a bit. You know what I mean? You may not have been facing elimination, but you were playing a game. If you lost, you would then be facing elimination. So that's why it matters. 6 or 7 is much different than 4 or 5. It does. It matters. If you were the favorite, most likely that game 6 was going to be on the road. And if that team won, which would have been the tougher game, then they would force a game 7 back at your place. Or if it was in the finals, maybe they got another home game, whatever. Okay. Larry Bird, 16 and 8 in 7-game series. 7 of them were in 4 or 5 games. 9 of them was in 6 or more. 9 out of 16 for a 56.3% clip. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he was 30 and 9 in 7-game series. 19 of them were 4 or 5 games he won, and only 11 in 6 or 7 for a 36.7% clip. Pretty low, if you're asking me. That's very low. I mean, below 40% even. I mean, that's just not high at all. It's so low, meaning that you just didn't have a lot of competition, or you had just, an unbelievably great team, or a combination of the two. That's most likely the case. Kobe Bryant went 27 and 10 in 7-game series. 13 of his went 4 or 5 games. 14 went 6 or 7. So that's a clip of 51.8%. That's a percentage you're looking for. He had some tough series. Magic Johnson went 24 and 6 in 7-game series. 13 of them went 4 or 5 games. 11 went 6 or 7 games. That's a 45.8% clip. A little low. I mean, let's be honest, that's a little bit low. I mean, not LeBron or Kareem low, but it's pretty low. Bill Russell, he went 24 and 2 in 7-game series. Of the 24, 9 was in 4 or 5 games that he won. 15 was in 6 or 7 for a 62.5% of the time. So 5 out of 8 series were going at least 6 games. So, that's good. That means that there was some pretty good competition there for him. Michael Jordan, in 7-game series, which is astonishing just to say this record, 20 and 4 in 7-game series. The only people better was George Mikan, who was, he only played 5 7-game series. He did win them all, though, 5-0. And Bill Russell, who was 24 and 2. Magic was 24 and 6, which was pretty good. But 20 and 4. That's crazy, meaning Jordan won 5 out of every 6 7-game series he played. And you guys want to talk about his competition? Let's look. How did it stack up against all the other 25? In his 20 series, 10 of them he won in 4 or 5 games. 10 of them he won in 6 or 7. 50%. Right on that line of half the time he had, pretty easy series, and half the time he had tough series. So what are you talking about? This doesn't stand out among all the all-time greats as some, crazy number. No, 50%. I mean, Giannis was 30%. Okay? Kevin Durant was 41%. Karl Malone was 50%, just like Jordan. Curry was 43.5%. Moses was 28.6%. Dr. J was 38.9%. LeBron, 41.4%. Shaq, 45.8%. Duncan, 41.9%. Kareem, 36.7%. Magic 45.8, and then Jordan. So Jordan's about right in line. So 10 of the players had less. 10 of the top 25 here had less 6 and 7 game series than Jordan did, and 13 of them had more, and he was tied with Karl Malone for in the middle there. So he's right in the middle. He didn't have the toughest time of it, tested hard, and he wasn't barely tested. He was just, right in the middle, average. So that means his competition overall compared to the top 25 was pretty much average. Also, his supporting cast, somewhere around average. So these guys had great teams also. It's just that, Michael Jordan got the most out of his players and, got them to compete hard. Now, yeah, he wasn't a perfect player. I mean, he had moments where he messed things up and whatever. Absolutely. He wasn't a perfect player. But to have some narrative out there that he just had the best team and the weakest competition, just railroaded everybody, that's just not what happened. There's the proof right here. And you can say whatever you want, but this is the proof, regardless of how good you think a team was. If they take the Bulls to 6 or 7 games, they were competition for them. They tested them. I don't know why you people can't get it through your thick heads, okay? If he has the most common number that he had in his career in 7-game series was he won 8 series in 6 games. That was the most common. He had 3 sweeps at a 24 series. Only 3 times he swept a team in a 7-game series at a 24 series. I mean, are you kidding me? A 24 series, he had 3 sweeps. He had 7 that he won in 5. He had 8 that he won in 6, and he had 2 that he won in 7. He may not have had a ton of 7-game series. Okay, sure, true. But he had 8 in 6 games, which was the most common. I mean, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I just don't understand it. I mean, only 3 sweeps. That's it. Magic had 5. Kobe had 5. Kareem had 7. And I'm just talking about 7-game series. Duncan had 9. Shaq had 5. LeBron had 12. Dr. J had 6. Curry had 6. Kevin Durant had 5. Giannis already has more with 4. So I don't know what you're talking about. Giannis Antetokounmpo has more sweeps in a 7-game series than Michael Jordan did in his whole career in 7-game series. And Giannis has played 15 series, 7-game series. Jordan played 24. Giannis has more sweeps. So how are you going to sit there and tell me that Jordan didn't have any competition and he had by far the best roster? This right here absolutely contradicts that stupid narrative you guys have. Sorry I got fired up because it's ridiculous. It was on my mind. And anyway, that's all I got for this video. If you liked it, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate everybody that is supporting this channel. I really do. I'm still pretty new. I'm in my first year. I think I'm about 8 months. I've been doing this now. So, the viewership is very much appreciated. Absolutely. So anyway, that's all I got for this video. And that's it for now.